All right. Hello. So could you first give your name, role, and how long you've been working at your company?
Sure. My name is Christian Tom. I am the SVP of Advertising, Sales, and Partnerships at Group 9 Media. And Group 9 is a media company that has four media brands inside of it. So I work on two of the four. I work on NowThis, a social video news company, and the Dodo, which is the #1 animal brand on digital. And the other two parts of Group 9 are Thrillist, which is a lifestyle brand, and Seeker, which is focused on science and technology. So I'm responsible for advertising, sales, and revenue for NowThis and the Dodo.
Great. Could you give three adjectives that describe your company's work culture?
Yeah. It's funny. We have sort of in what I do almost like three work cultures and three companies. We have NowThis as a standalone company. We have the Dodo as a standalone company, and then we have sort of the parent, if you will, the umbrella organization, which is Group 9. So they're all slightly different, but I'll say that at a high level, this is a fast-paced workplace. Again, we work in media, where it's a quickly changing landscape all the time. So fast-paced is definitely #1. Number two is it's a really young company. It's a lot of people who are, broadly speaking, in the sort of millennial, quote unquote, age range, but people who are really excited about making video content or talking to advertisers, specifically, in my world at least, about video and social media and how people are consuming content on mobile devices. So I would definitely say young and kind of millennial in that way, but a fast-paced, fun place for sure.
Great. What would you say success looks like in your company?
Well, I think success has a lot of different ways to be measured, and I would say it also depends a bit on what side of the business you work on. So, for example, an editor at NowThis who's making video news may have a different set of goals and objectives than someone who works on the business side who's focused on, for example, an advertising deal. So slightly different, but I would say at a high level, success looks like you're someone who works collaboratively with your colleagues, someone who is goal-oriented. Like I said, there might be different ways to achieve those goals or what even those goals are in the first place, but someone who's goal-oriented. And also someone I think who, like, overall, in my mind, brings like a good energy to what they do. There's a lot of people who out there maybe in life achieve certain goals, but don't do it in a way that makes them someone you want to spend a lot of time with. And I think there's a really, really good argument to say that you should strive to do both sides of that.
Awesome. What is the biggest challenge you face in your job?
Biggest challenge, I think the biggest challenge is actually something where for anybody, but certainly in kind of media, is if you play it right, also really a differentiator in a good way, which is that you have to be ready for change always, and in fact, forcing that change upon yourself. And the way that, for example, even someone like a NowThis or Dodo got started is a good example of that. Both of those companies, and as a part of this kind of parent or umbrella organization, Group 9, really believe that social media is the new kind of distribution platforms for content today. And so a lot of people spend a huge amount of time, of course, on their phones and on mobile specifically. And within that, so much time is spent on social media. And so that's a big, big change. And for a lot of media companies who've been around for a while, it's actually a really scary change. Maybe they built up a great print magazine or newspaper or TV network, or even like a website, right? So even website, which is a relatively new thing, inside of this world where people are consuming video content, and they're doing it on social media, a website can sometimes be a little bit of out of step of that. So to answer your question, I think the biggest challenge can be when those changes happen, and you need to be in that way kind of forcing yourself to make change immediately, and being, I suppose, in that way kind of ahead of the curve. That's what this fast world kind of requires.
Yeah, great. So what's your favorite part of the job? I know you said that there's a lot going on, like a lot of different facets of the job, but do you have a favorite component?
Yeah, we work with a lot of advertisers who are in the kind of Fortune 100, big global corporate companies. And so oftentimes for them, when we kind of see that light bulb go off on why something like a NowThis or a Dodo, why that distribution strategy that I just described, which may be some kind of intuitive to some people, when we see someone have that light bulb and when they really get it and it clicks, that's a really, really fun feeling. It's also a fun feeling because it means that maybe they're more likely to work with us from an advertising standpoint. But it is really great to be able to show somebody how, our worldview in this case jives with where things are going.
Awesome. Are there any positions available to recent graduates or interns, and what would those positions look like?
Oh yeah, totally. So we have at Group 9 at the high level, there's an internship program, which exists kind of at each of the media properties underneath it. The internship program is something of a rotation. You get exposure to all different parts of the business. I know, for example, in the NowThis newsroom, there are interns who are going to be here this summer in a matter of weeks, who are going to be going and making videos just like the full-time counterparts. They'll learn the editorial process, they'll learn how to pitch a story, they'll learn how to create the video content, all of that. So there's definitely opportunities for that. And likewise, as kind of new graduates, there are a huge number of positions for full-time jobs where, again, I think part of what we do requires a bit of flexible thinking. It requires someone who's fluent in the way that people consume content today. And oftentimes that starts with people who are in the recent grad environment. So if people are interested in media, in technology in that way, in content creation, in video, any part of that world, or even in social media broadly, I would say the answer is yes, totally. There's opportunities to be here.
Amazing. So in that realm, what are the top skills that you would need to develop for the job, either before coming in or while you're just starting out? What would those be?
So I would say, and again, since there is sort of like the editorial side of a company like NowThis and then a business side, so they'll be slightly different based on that. The common overlapping skills that are needed, I would say, are two things. One is excellent communication skills, and then number two is a willingness to learn. I'll give you an example. Like there's a really great employee who's also actually a fellow Stanford grad, who was an intern on the business side for us a few years ago and has learned an enormous amount about video editing. He didn't really know much about it coming in, but had the flexibility, had the openness, the growth mindset, willingness to learn, and is now like a great video producer and employee at NowThis as a full-time person. But he also had great communication skills when he was working on the business side to help understand. In this case, if you're going to go and pitch a story as a video producer, you have to go and be eloquent around why that story deserves the airtime, quote unquote, deserves to have a video made about it. And being able to in that way pitch, so to speak, is a really important piece. Even if you aren't working on the advertising side, it works as a kind of truism, I'd say, for both sides of our company.
Great. My last question, I think you've kind of touched on this a little already with the growth mindset, but what non-academic trait or mindset do you think is important to have for someone going into the media industry?
Yeah, it's funny. I inadvertently, I suppose, talked a little bit less about some of the hard skills just in our discussion than some of the soft skills. So yeah, I don't know. I truly think that like a Stanford grad who comes to the workforce with a particular major that might be focused on one thing can be amazingly valuable right off the bat. I also think, though, to the question, a little bit of dynamic thinking, a little bit of interdisciplinary skills can be really important, and that's why I'm always excited when I hear about Stanford students who do interdisciplinary majors. Like there are so many amazing programs at Stanford. So programs, I suppose, as opposed to departments, right? Programs like that bring together different parts of like Stanford's academic capabilities, I think is great. Or people who double major or who minor in other things, because you have to go and bring together different pieces of knowledge. And honestly, sometimes the most innovation, if you will, sometimes the most creative results come from people who brought together two very disparate pieces, whether it's skills or mindset or thinking. And I think, again, some of the most exciting Stanford majors are in that same boat. So yeah, I would say that kind of yeah, to use a Carol Dweck term, like growth mindset is really important. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Tom, for taking the time to talk to me and share some information with Stanford students. And I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Great. Thanks so much.